I'm going online. So what are we going to talk about?
Essence of life.
Yeah, but what are we going to talk about?
How we see the
I'm
world.
going
So I'm gonna just
online.
I'll just ask some philosophical
What are you
questions.
going to
I
talk?
have a list of 40, and we'll just see how
Okay.
we get
Okay,
through.
let's start.
Hi guys, thanks for joining. This is Essence of Life. Today we're going to be talking about how we see the world. My name is Amanda Armagast.
My name is Alyssa Haber.
And I'm Dr. Abbasi for Essence.
So we've done this series for a while now. I'm just going to start by asking a PA and a neurosurgeon different philosophical questions. My background is in communication.
Philosophical question. So exciting.
Yeah, this is actually one of my favorite parts of the series. I really enjoy it. So that's why I chose it today. So we're going to start off kind of intense.
Per usual.
Yeah, I'm really interested in your answer to this question because of all of the technology that's been coming to the earth. The alien trials are going on right now in Congress, and all of our AI stuff. So are there any limits to human knowledge and understanding?
Alyssa, you go.
Okay, I can start.
Okay, go ahead.
I think, of course, there's limits to human knowledge and understanding. I think it would be egotistical to say that we have no limits to our knowledge and no limits to our understanding. Right now, especially, I know that there's a lot of people that you can tell them something that's a fact and they will not accept it as a fact, only as an opinion. I think that that can be considered a limited knowledge.
Absolutely. I would agree that there is a limit to everything, that no one's perfect, no one knows the answer to everything, but there is that line of you coming to as close as perfection as possible. And I think, someday we're going to continue to be at that point where you'll be able to find all the knowledge, find all this and that you'll need one way or another. But if we're talking just the human brain on its own, no, that's my thought.
Okay, well, that is actually an interesting question. And I do believe there are certainly limits to everything, but the limits are not what you guys think. And I'm going to explain why. You guys know Einstein, right? Everybody know Einstein.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that every second year physics student understands the relativity theory better than Einstein? Did you know that?
I'm not surprised by that.
Do you know why?
Because knowledge is advancing.
Exactly. Things that it was all new for Einstein and all he had to do an acrobatic brain, twists to understand that. You understand the basic of that better. Now, I'm going to give you another example. You know Mozart, right? Was a music genius and so on and so forth. There is a new, I think, Suzuki School of Piano. Every person in that school, the 14-year-old, the 12-year-old person in that school can play better piano than Mozart because we know how to teach that. And how do we know that? It is based on actual, identifying and evaluating and so on and so forth, the notes and the reports and so on. We don't have the records from Mozart, but considering that we have new ways of teaching things that would be limit, the best of the best, Mozart, Einstein, are so far below us now. So our limits are not what you think they are self-made. There is okay, I'm going to give you one last example for that so you understand where we are going. Do you guys know that hot dog eating context in New York?
Yeah, I do know that. I've actually watched a hot dog eating contest before.
So what is the limit? What is the score? I mean, how many do they eat in 11 minutes, right? In 11 minutes.
I think isn't the limit like 112 or 212 or something?
Yeah, I think. Now, how much do you think was it like 25 years ago or 30 years ago.
Probably like 25.
Yeah, it was 25. And then in 1 year, it jumped from 25 to 65. I don't know what it is now. It is not about hot dog eating. I don't recommend that.
No,
But-
it's about getting the hot dog wet so it can go down faster.
So
The stretch.
it is about human limit. That's what I'm talking about. This was your question about human limit. For 100 years or 70 years or whatever long that hot dog contest was, the limit was 20 to 28. And then if somebody could eat one more, they would say, wow, wow, wow. How did it in 1 year go from 28 to 63 in 1 year? What
Because, well, I think Alyssa and I are going to say the same thing, that they learned the techniques of the person before. So the person who won before essentially taught them or trained them how to win again.
Mhm.
Okay, well, his name is Kobayashi. He's the skinniest man, and he's Japanese. He just was for visit in New York, and then looked at that, and then he wanted the money. So he went and took that hot dog eating contest apart, analyzed the rules, and came out not to how to eat so many hot dogs in 11 minutes, but how to eat one hot dog fastest. Like nobody in the rules ever said that you have to eat them together. Nobody said that.
Right.
So he would, for example, separate them, put the bun in water, squeeze them, eat them that way, and swallow the hot dogs whole. It's not healthy, don't do it. But you see, the limit was for 70 years, 28, until somebody dared to take it apart and analyze the parts and put it together. So in that sense, in the common sense of do we have a limitation, I would say no, we don't. We just have to widen our horizon, start looking at things in a different way. And I'm going to give you an example of your own life, Amanda.
Thank you.
Remember how long we talked about getting some information from a clinic, from some system in some of the states, and everybody was discussing all this big name and 20 years history and experience in marketing. We're thinking about how to get that. While they were talking, you pick up the phone, call the front desk, and got all the information in 3 minutes. Do you remember that? So
Yeah, I do.
now think about that 4 examples I gave you. Now, is there a limit to human performance? If you
No,
look
the limit
at
is set
that
by
way,
ourselves.
hmm?
The limit is set by ourselves or set by like society or other things, I think.
Well, and that is what always people who change the convention, that's what they do. They change the convention, they break the convention, and then they widen our horizon. Then everything that was impossible, all of a sudden, why was it even impossible? How did we think that is impossible? And to top it off, and I'm going to give you another example. Have you heard of Columbus egg?
I have not.
No,
Okay,
the
No.
Columbus egg.
Columbus egg, the concept of Columbus egg. So Columbus, when he came back, he was the star of the show. He was a celebrity. He was invited to all this, the royalties and banquets and philosopher, mathematician, all were there. And he had a joke. Somebody else before him did that, but it's just attributed to him. They called it Columbus egg. He would give them an egg and say, okay, you smart people, balance this egg on one of the ends. And all this philosopher, all this mathematician, they would just try and could not do that. Do you know what he did?
Smashed them both and put them on top of each other.
No, just one egg.
Yeah, I actually do remember the rest of the story now.
Okay, so
Like
He
digging up
take-
right the box.
Yeah.
he took one of the egg, hit it on the ground, and it stood. And they said, duh. You see that there? Many things in life is the so-called Columbus egg.
Hmm.
And once you remove the self-made thing, like, let me give you another example. Is it possible to do 4 surgeries in the morning? Is it possible?
Some people would say no.
Until you put that threshold, then it's possible. So I can go on and on and on, but I think you're wiser now, and stop putting self-limiting borders in your life. And like my son makes fun of me because when we talk about what I want him to do, I tell my son I want him to be the first man on Mars and my daughter to be president of the United States. But that is a threshold. When you put that threshold, everything else is available to you. Okay, so meaning that especially when you're young, when you're a parent, don't put low threshold on your. Don't put borders and limits. What human limits? So again, physically everything has a limit, and that limit is Planck's constant. That is a physical limit of the universe. Beside that, if there is no limit. Now, you can look at it another way.
Another example?
No, not another example, another worldview. Only thing you have to do is to die. Everything else is a choice.
That's true.
Dying is the only thing you have to do. Nothing else you have to do is a choice. So go with that attitude in the world, and then you will beat the shit out of the world. Okay, you are Alexander the Great, you are Caesar, you are all those people who really changed the convention. But I rest my case here.
Thank you. So I'm gonna let Alyssa answer this one first because we only have 6 more minutes until she has to leave. But you and I can continue. Alyssa, I think you know which one I'm gonna ask you. You can say no if you don't want me to ask
No.
14.
And we're on a podcast. So
Okay.
let's do it.
Can forgiveness
Go ahead.
Can forgiveness truly heal, or are there some wounds too deep to mend?
So this is another one of those questions that when it asks us, is can forgiveness truly heal? Well, it comes down to like, how do you know when you're healed?
Yeah.
You know, what forgiveness are you asking for? Do I want you to forgive me or me to forgive you? I'd say there's no amount of forgiveness that anyone can give you that's going to heal you. I don't believe that, even if I wronged you and I need you to say, I forgive you, it's all about at the end of the day, how you see yourself, how you feel about yourself, how you are able to mend yourself.
Mhm.
So to me, the answer is, no, as I got to find that again to make sure I'm saying this. There are wounds that I think that are too deep to mend on a personal level, at least on your own.
Yeah.
I feel like with help, with this, all the resources. Yeah. Like Dr. Abbasi said, the only limit that we have for ourselves is ourselves. So can anything be mended? Yes. But I know I kind of like contradicted myself, but you hit me with the tough question.
And this question is right up. I feel like you're Allie. I feel like you're
Yeah.
a good person to answer that because you're really big on forgiveness. That's
Try.
why I asked you, but I agree with you wholly. And I like that it's worded as a wound because I feel like a wound can heal,
Mhm.
but there still might be a scar.
Oh,
So
true.
sometimes you can forgive someone and like genuinely you're not hurt by it anymore, but there's still going to be a scar there that you can still see. So when you think about that person, maybe you won't trust them in that way anymore, or your relationship will be altered a little bit.
With anyone, your relationship with anyone.
Yeah, with anyone.
I have that all the time. You're unintentionally making changes. I tell my mom all the time in South Dakota, where I'm from, I did the little hand wave every time I
Yeah.
drove. Every time I drove. Well, it took me like a week of hand waving in Minnesota and nobody hand waving back for me to just stop hand waving. I didn't think about it. I didn't make that decision to, hey, I'm going to stop doing that until I get back home and people start waving back at me. And I go, oh, shoot, when did that change? When did I make that decision that I'm giving up on Minnesota people? I'm going to stop waving at them.
Yeah.
We just stopped doing that based on, is that a wound? Did that cut me? No, but did it affect me in a way that I didn't even know? Yeah, it did.
Yeah, true. Or like if you grew up as a child and you were abused
Mhm.
by men, maybe as an adult, you don't trust men anymore. And so you can heal from that and you can like recover, but it'll still have that
Impact.
that impact on your life. What do you think?
Are you asking the robot?
Yeah,
That is your field.
I'll
That
ask
is
you the
your
question.
domain.
I'll ask you the question again. Can forgiveness truly heal, or are there some wounds too deep to mend?
So let me take that question apart.
Okay.
Okay. Now, first of all, forgiveness. I don't know if you guys and I are talking about the same thing. Do you know what for me forgiveness is? Forgiveness for me is an act from the victim upon perpetrator.
Mm-hmm.
It is,
Agree.
and it is not that the perpetrator comes and says, I did you wrong, please forgive me, and so on. And there is a self-forgiveness in that. It is for a rapist is easy to forgive himself and come and ask, are we good now? Are we good now? Are we good now? That's meaningless.
Mhm.
You have a legal system for that. That forgiveness in the legal system plays a role to how much you are going to go to prison. I mean, if you're a total idiot and total, if not, you don't even repent, you think still the only problem was that you got caught. You get the maximum sentence, not the minimum sentence. So that you still will get you go to prison, but how much is depending on did you really understand that what you did is wrong and so on.
Mhm.
Now, I hate to say that after what I have gone through in the last just few weeks and months and so on, people use the forgiveness to just get away with this. The perpetrator, not the victim, the perpetrator used the concept of the forgiveness to get away, to be good, to start new. Like on my side, on the victim side, forgiveness as well as I think is meaningless. You did something really wrong to me. How, the true forgiveness for the victim is just move on. Not
Yeah,
thinking about that, every time you think about something somebody did wrong to you, you are giving them power.
Mhm.
Once you move on, they have no power over you anymore. And that is true. You forgive yourself and move on. And independent if they repent or not, and so on, because as soon as you do that, they have no more power over you. And then you can move on with your life. Or you can, if you don't do that, not like a victim seeking repent and the apology and I'm sorry from a perpetrator, it's just going to make the wound deeper.
Mhm. I would agree with that.
I agree. It's something I tell Alyssa all the time is like
Yeah.
when people tell me sorry, I
Don't care.
Meaningless.
I literally could not care less about being apologized to.
Yeah, and that is, I can tell you, let me tell you an example. I am in the OR, I'm helping a patient, and something I need wasn't there that was supposed to be there.
Mhm.
And the person that was supposed to have that there says, I'm sorry, and look at the walls. So I am in that situation, I have to overcome a big burden. And the answer is, but I said I'm sorry. That is the response. That apology and whatever forgiveness is associated with that is meaningless. The true apology that does deserve forgiveness, but that's only for the perpetrator. For the victim, she or he doesn't have to forgive, doesn't have to forget, but the more so it becomes that forgiveness is moved to a different domain, moving on. So they have no more power over you. Otherwise, my blood pressure is still going to shoot up. You idiots, you were supposed to have that. You knew that for a long time and so on. But I said I was sorry. That is, so I'm not, you're asking the wrong person.
We know.
No, you can have an opinion too, even if you're not emotional or you don't base your actions on emotions. You have a lot of life experience, so it's good to ask your take. Well, Alyssa, I think I don't want to keep you.
I guess I go. All right. Well, I hope you guys continue this on.
Thank
I will
you.
watch it a little
Yes,
bit
yes.
later.
Yeah, tune in on your drive.
I will. I actually might.
Yeah.
Okay, have fun in the war.
Thank you.
So actually, I think we can wrap it up, Amanda, because we have another podcast that want to work with us. And we can maybe have a podcast that maybe next week with that podcaster. I'm going to send as well the information to you. But what else would you like to talk about, Amanda? I mean, don't ask robot emotional questions.
Well, actually, I was going to ask you, what is the relationship between happiness and success?
Yeah, you tell me. What do you think?
I think it's a really complicated relationship. I immediately think of a question that my dad asked me one time is, would you rather have a child who is unsuccessful but happy, or extremely successful but depressed? So like maybe
The only choice? Do I have only these two choices?
yeah, you only have those two choices.
No, I don't.
rather-
I don't.
That's the question. I'm not asking you. I'm saying what the question is. So the question was like,
I refuse to answer that question. That question is like when I ask you, when did you stop beating your wife? What is the answer to that? You can say no or no. The question is actually
I don't think your analogies apply. It's a pretty
no. That question is give you put in a situation that only you can answer it the wrong way. So the question is, my friend asked me, have you stopped beating your wife? The answer to that is a yes or no, right? So if you say yes, that means you used to beat your wife. If you say no, it means you still are beating your wife. So the question, have you stopped beating your wife, put you in a situation that every answer is wrong.
Well, that's not what the question is. So I don't think that's relative at all. Do you want me to ask what the question is?
The question is, would you rather have your child be successful or successful and unhappy, or not successful but happy?
No, the question is, what's the relationship between happiness and success? And you asked my opinion.
Okay, yeah, okay, you answered that then for yourself.
Yeah. So I was just going to say that I think that a lot of times when people are more successful, that comes with more stressors and more things that can make them unhappy. The more successful you are, the higher your threshold is, in my opinion. So if you're super successful, you're dealing with higher level things. And if one of those high level things go wrong, the consequences are much higher than if you're less successful. Whereas if you're less successful, you can be happy doing anything. Like you can work 9 to 5 at Walmart. That's an example you give all the time. And you can go home at 5 o'clock to your family and do literally whatever you want. You don't have to check your phone. You don't have to stress out about work. So I think that the relationship is a complex relationship, because also if you're not successful, it can be harder to be happy because you might not be having your initial needs met.
Mm-hmm. All the psychological tests show if you work in Walmart, or if you are in that level of income with a Walmart, your happiness level is much, much lower than somebody who has much higher income. And success and income are generally related. So there's a psychologist who studied the happiness and relation of happiness to where in social strata you are, at what social level you are. Those people who are not successful and so earn less, they are generally, statistically, are not happier than people who are successful. That is result of that study.
So what do you think the relationship is?
The relationship is that many things that are stressors are removed by certain level of income. At certain level of income, more is not it doesn't make you more happy. But you do need to have a certain level of success to not to be worried about where you are going to eat, where you are going to sleep, or can you repair your car, and so on. So there is a linear connection between success and happiness until I think even they figured it out. I think that number was in 100,000 or somewhere around that. But then after that, more money did not mean more happiness. So this is a nuanced, well-studied effect. So if I had to choose only one, meaning that not successful, I can guarantee you that not successful people are not happy. Statistically, they are not happy.
Okay, so do you think it's like a bell curve?
No, it's not a bell curve. It's the happiness and income, they go together. And then income can go much higher, but happiness levels.
Okay. Do you want me to ask you one more question?
Sure. Let's close it on a happy note. You have a happy question?
Yeah.
Go.
If you could time travel, would you go to the past or the future, and why?
You answer that first.
If I could time travel, I actually don't know if I would go to the past or the future. I feel like the past would be really interesting to see. I think it'd be interesting to kind of understand how people were feeling then and their views on things. But I think the future would be interesting too.
So you keep your options open.
Yeah.
So there is a meme I'm trying to find about the people who are nostalgic about the past. I cannot find it in this short notice. It's like a painting, like a cartoon about good old time. And then in that good old time, somebody is getting tortured, the other person is getting crucified, the other one getting speared, and so on and so forth. The other person is dying of starvation, and so on. We, at any time in the history, when we looked at our past, we appeared like savages.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it used to be, for homosexuality, it used to be prison sentence in the United States, not long ago. In Europe as well. In many countries,
It still is.
in Europe there isn't anymore, and United States there isn't. In some other countries there is. 100 years from now, many things that how we behave is considered as we are savages for future, and the past is savage to us. So our past, is not very glorious. And everything, for people who are interested, go read Steven Pinker. He's a philosopher linguist from MIT, and you should, just read one or two of his books. That humanity has never been as good as it is now, and that is a good thing. We are optimistic about that, but we are not going to stop. So that answered the question where I would go and why. I would go far, far in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see why. I would like to see like how the nature looked in the past before we did a lot of these things that we're doing.
Yeah, the nature where every fourth of your children got eaten by a tiger in India, or lots of good nature.
Okay, well, thank you guys for joining. This was Essence of Life. We talked about how we view the world. My name is Amanda Armagast.
And I'm Dr. Abbasi for Essence. And hopefully your children don't get eaten by tigers.
Let's hope. See you next week. Have a safe weekend.